Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So for today's case I'm going to be talking to you about is the family murders. So the family murders is a name that had been given to a series of 5 murders in Australia, speculated to have been committed by a loosely connected group of individuals who came to be known as, quote, the family. This group was believed to be involved in the kidnapping and the sexual abuse of a number of teenage boys and young men, as well as torture and murder of 5 young men aged between 14 and 25 in Adelaide in South Australia in the 1970s and 1980s. The name of the group stems from an interview a police detective gave on 60 Minutes, claiming that the police were taking action, quote, to break up the happy family. Only one suspect had been charged and convicted for all of these crimes. Bevan Spencer von Einem was sentenced in 1984 to a minimum of 24 years, later then extended to a minimum of 36-year term for the murders of 15-year-old Richard Kelvin, and the other murders remained unsolved. So the police believe that up to 12 people, several of them being high-profile Australians, was involved in kidnappings. The suspects and their associates were linked mainly by the shared habits of actually having sought out young males for sex, sometimes drugging and raping their victims. Von Einem was convicted in 1984 of the murder of Kelvin and sentenced to life imprisonment. In 1989, Von Einem was charged with the murders of 2 other victims, Bonds and also Langley. But the prosecution entered a nolle prosequi, which is a voluntarily discontinued criminal charge, during the trial when crucial similar fact evidence was deemed inadmissible, where the presiding judge Von Einem was also one of the last people who was seen with the 4th victim, Muir, following his abduction. Apart from Von Einem, 3 other core members are thought to be directly involved in these murders, while DNA testing recommenced in 2008. No further charges have been laid. Suspect 1, a eastern suburb businessman, is believed to have been with Von Einem when Kelvin had been abducted. Suspect 2, a former male prostitute and close friend of Von Einem, known as Mr. B. Suspect 3, a eastern suburb doctor. A cold case review was opened in March 2008 with a $1 million reward available for anyone who provided information that was leading then to a conviction. The reward carried an offer of immunity to all accomplices, dependent on their level of involvement due to charges in the Forensic Procedures Act, which later allowed the DNA samples to be taken from suspects voluntarily submitted to DNA testing. Ongoing investigation featured in an episode of Crime Stoppers, which went to air on the 2nd of March 2009. The cold case review was completed in November 2010, with no charges being laid against any of the 3 key suspects. Some authorities do not recognize the term, quote, the family, stating that they should not be given any title that infers of legitimacy. These people have no such bond, only an association at that time probably no longer exists. Others who have examined the cases, however, argues that there were many more victims. Criminologist Alan Perry of the University of Adelaide was then arguing that the murders were part of a widespread series of kidnappings and sexual assaults. And these are of boys that may be a number of several hundred victims in South Australia in the 10 years from about 1973 to 1983. Alan Arthur Barnes, aged 16, was murdered in 1979. He was last seen while hitchhiking, being picked up by a white HQ Holden sedan carrying 3 or 4 people. His body had been severely mutilated and dumped into the South Para Reservoir, northeast of Adelaide. A post-mortem then examination revealed that Barnes had died of a massive blood loss from an anal injury likely caused by the insertion of a large blunt object. His body was showing signs of beatings and torture. Noctec was found in his blood, suggesting that he had been drugged. Neil Frederick Muir had then been aged 25, murdered 2 months after Barnes in August 1979. His remains had been dissected and neatly cut into many pieces, placed into a garbage bag and thrown into Port River at Port Adelaide. Skin-bearing tattoos had been removed, and then most of the body parts were placed in another garbage bag before then being placed within the abdominal cavity. The head was tied to the torso with a rope passed through the mouth and out through the neck. A post-mortem examination revealed that Muir had died of a massive blood loss from an anal injury, likely caused by an insertion of a large blunt object, and Noctec was found in his blood. Peter Stogneff, aged 14, was murdered in August 1981. His skeletal remains were found later in October 1982 by a local farmer at Middle Beach, 50 kilometres north of Adelaide. Stogneff's body had been cut into 3 pieces in a similar fashion to Muir's. Little more could be determined, as the remains had then been accidentally burnt by the farmer while clearing his property of any scrubs. Mark Andrew Langley was aged 18, murdered in February 1982. His mutilated body was found in a scrub in Adelaide Foothills 9 days after his disappearance. Among the mutilations was a wound that appeared to have been cut with a surgical instrument that went from his navel to the pubic region. Part of his small bowel was missing. The hair around the area had then been shaved, as it would have been as if it was an operation being done at a hospital. Post-mortem revealed that Langley had died from a massive loss of blood from gross injury to his anus, similar to Barnes. The sedative hypnotic drug Mandrex, popular in the 1970s disco scene, was found in Langley's blood. Richard Dallas Kelvin, born 4th of December 1967, aged 15, was murdered in July 1983. The son of a popular local 9 network news presenter, Rob Kelvin. He was abducted a short distance from his North Adelaide home on 5th of June. His body had been found on 24th of July by a geologist who was searching for moss-covered rocks that was near a dirt airstrip at Kersbrook. Kelvin was held captive for approximately 5 weeks, and a post-mortem then examination revealed that he had died of a massive blood loss from an anal injury, likely caused by an insertion of a large blunt object. Analysis of Kelvin's bloodstream revealed traces of 4 hypnotic drugs, Mandrex and Noctec, trace evidence including hair, fibres from Von Einam's home that was found on Kelvin's body and clothing. Okay then everyone, so that is today's case. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, subscribe. hit the notification bell, and I see you again next time. Take care. Bye bye.